Okay, so this one is a band called Verona Lights, and they recently opened for El Nino, shot at Max Watts, and you can see that the lighting is really awful and it was a really, really dark venue. So this one needed quite a bit of rescue. So as you can see, first what I'm going to do is I'm going to brighten up the exposure a little bit. Now this is where I'm going to get a little bit of noise, but we're going to fix that later. First we're going to colour correct by picking our darkest black area. Generally the microphone is where I like to pick up. And that's going to colour correct that for skin tones, because I always shoot for skin tones. Going to give it a little bit of texture and just a slight touch of dehazing, not too much. We don't want to go too wild there. I don't really like that. It's gone a little bit green. Bring it back a little bit. Just add a touch of vibrance. Now, we're never going to add saturation. We're always going to add vibrance. Otherwise, we start to get icky skin tones. And again, I always shoot for skin tones. What I want to do, though, is I want to correct each area separately. So I'm going to select my background in a layer mask, and it's going to detect the background for me, which makes it really super easy. And then I'm just going to play around with my exposure a little bit on that background. I really want my subject to pop here, and that's why I do this. This is why I darken down the background. Just a slight bit, not a whole lot. Give it a tiny touch of color temperature to grab some of that yellow, because I think it looks a lot nicer than the green. And I think that's about all I really want to do there. And see how it just makes it pop a lot more when I give it a bit more color temperature in that background. And I'm only doing it in the background, so I'm not actually affecting the skin tones of the lead singer there. Then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to play around with the actual subjects. So you can see there are two subjects there. I'm going to go through my layer masks. I'm going to do a select subject, not a select people, because select people will do all the different areas of the person, so their body and their t-shirt and their eyes and all that kind of stuff. I just want to do a real quick edit where I'm just going to bring up just like a tiny touch of exposure, just so they pop a little bit more from that background. I don't want to do it too much, otherwise they start to look a little bit like cardboard cutouts. So it's a real subtle amount here. Otherwise, yeah, they just look like a little bit cardboard cutout-ish. And that's really all I want to do with the editing of those two sections, is just to make that lead singer really pop from the background. Then what I want to do is I want to really make those colours. So generally I'll choose my most predominant colours in the image, and I'm going to saturate those a little bit. So my most predominant colours here are yellows and greens. So I'm going to pump up the saturation a little bit on both of those, just to get that background really popping. Because I really like it when the background stands out, because those lights create a really interesting leading lines effect, which really leads the eye into that lead singer. So that's a really good compositional tool. Now we do need to denoise, unfortunately. Now with your denoising, you've got to be really careful here. Your sweet spot is around 50%. I'll just show you what happens if I go up too high. If I go up, because it's a super noisy shot, but if I go up to really high, like say 74, or any higher than that, then I start to get this really weird effect. And it starts to look a little bit like a painting. So as you can see, it just looks really funny. It doesn't look really sharp. It looks like almost oily. It's really weird. So I really don't like that. So I'm going to come back down to that, and I'm going to bring that back down to around 50. I'm going to give it a little bit of clarity and texture first to see if that changes it. But I really want to just make sure that it doesn't start to look a little bit too cartoony. So going back down to my denoise, I'm going to just bring that slider all the way back and down to 50, because I really find that 50 is around your point where it still looks realistic without going a little bit too crazy. And yeah, that's sort of basically what I really want to do with this edit. I don't want to do too much other than I really want to keep my eye looking at my subject. So at the moment I'm kind of looking at what's distracting, and in the background there's that great big, I don't know if it's an exit sign or a clock or whatever, so I'm going to get rid of that. And the AI remover tool is actually really quite powerful, so I'm going to use that tool, and I'm just going to remove that big red square because I just find it's completely unnecessary. Now, being that music photography is documentary photography, I don't like to remove too much, and I don't like to get too crazy. It's just because that's a really bright spot, and it's also red. And our eye tends to go to really bright spots in an image. And that image, that part of the image, there's nothing there that's of interest. It's just an exit sign. So we're going to get rid of it because it's just super distracting. So the AI editing remove tool is actually pretty good. Sometimes you want to check it and make sure it's actually doing the right thing, but it looks pretty all right. So really, that's all I'm going to do with this edit. I don't want to do too much. It's a big improvement from what it started off as. So I'm quite happy with that, and I think that's pretty much all I'm going to do. So that was Verona Lights, and that was shot at Max Watts, the notoriously dark dungeon. And yeah, that's all I did with that edit. Thanks for watching.